Okay, well, I see that it is 7 o'clock on the dot. Again, welcome. I'm Jocelyn Ross, and I'm the president of South Carolina Hands and Voices, and we do Topic Tuesday joint with Beginnings SC. And we have members on the team with us, Lisa Jolly and Jennifer Faulkner, who help us with these meetings and provide the wonderful interpreter. And we have a wonderful presenter today with Karen with Palmetto ABLE SC ABLE Savings Program. And this is going to be something I'm looking excited to after doing open enrollment in October. It's like my mind is in that mindset of programs and way to plan for the children. So thank you so much, Karen, for being here and giving our audience this information. And it is recorded and more people are joining. We'll have an option to do question and answers at the end, but I'll turn it over to you.
All righty. Thank you so much. Let's see if we can get my screen going. It worked earlier. Give me 1 second. There. Are we in business now? Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Karen Crider, and I work for the State Treasurer's Office as a program manager for the Palmetto ABLE Savings Program. And I am just delighted to be here tonight. And I want to thank you all for coming. And I hope this information will be helpful to you. I get presentations. I always like to start with this slide that was taken. This picture was actually taken almost 4 years ago to the day that our program opened for enrollment. And we were walking over to the State House. Treasurer Curtis Loftus is wearing the red tie, and we were joined by a number of people in the disability community. And the young man who is second from the left, who's kind of grimacing, that's my son, Matthew. He is a Palmetto ABLE savings account holder. He has been my personal beta test. He's been my guinea pig for all things involving this program, which he has been more than willing to do. So thank you for being here.
Karen.
Yes.
Let me interrupt you for a second. We can see the screen, but it's like the PowerPoint minimized over your presenter.
Oh, no. Okay.
In notes.
All right. What has happened here? Hold on a second. Let me see. Let me try it again. I'm sorry.
You're good.
We had this. Come on. Okay. Is it working now? Is it just this?
Yes, we can see your little next slide next to it, but we get a better the overlap.
Thank you. Yeah, that was unintentional. Believe me. Sorry about that. So anyway, this next slide is just very text heavy. This is one of those slides the attorneys want you to have. And basically what we're telling people is that these are financial investment accounts. And if you're going to make an investment in an account like this, please read our disclosure statement. That's kind of the Cliff Note version of this long slide. To get started, we'll talk a little bit about the Federal ABLE Act. And I hope that y'all are somewhat familiar with it. It's been around for a while. This is actually the Achieving a Better Life Experience, or ABLE Act. And it was passed in 2014, and in doing so, created savings and investment accounts that allow individuals with disabilities and the families that care for them to save money for the future, because we all know living life with a disability can often be very expensive. And the important thing about these accounts is it allows families and individuals to save money without impacting their eligibility for means-tested benefits such as SSI and Medicaid. And just so you know, the driving force behind this was a group of parents from the North Virginia affiliate of the National Down Syndrome Society. And they were frustrated because they could save money for their own retirement. They could save money for their other children to go to college, but they couldn't help their children who were going to need their help the most. So they were really the driving force behind the passage of this act. Now, the other part of the Federal Act is that it allows states to offer qualified ABLE programs to their citizens. So the Palmetto ABLE Savings Program was established in response to this federal legislation. Our program is administered by the State Treasurer's Office, and we opened for enrollment in 2017. And I'm excited to tell you that we have over 2,400 accounts open statewide now. We are in every county except for one, and we're still working on that. And South Carolina's program is about the 15th largest in the country. So we have done quite well with our program and trying to get the word out. And our program is brought to South Carolinians through a partnership with the Ohio State Treasurer's Office, and that's the Stable Account Program. And they have the largest and most used program in the country. They have about 25,000 accounts nationally and over $200 million in assets under management. So it's a very large program. So what exactly is a Palmetto ABLE account? These really are kind of hybrid accounts. They have features of other accounts such as 529 college savings account, like Future Scholar, and that these accounts are tax advantaged and you have different investment options to choose from. They're similar to a checking account in that you can use the funds on a transactional basis to pay for expenses, for qualified expenses. And they have some features of a special needs trust in that they're designed and intended to help the individual with disabilities. So it really is kind of a combination of features of a number of different accounts that all work together. Now, when you think about eligibility for a Palmetto ABLE account, and again, because this is a federal act, all of the basic rules and regulations for the program are the same nationally, including eligibility. To be eligible, you have to be an individual who is living with a disability that occurred prior to the age 26. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Also, to qualify for the Palmetto ABLE Savings Program, you have to be a resident of South Carolina. And then you need to meet one of the following three criteria. Either be eligible to receive SSI or SSDI due to the disability, or you can have a condition listed on the Social Security Administration's Compassionate Allowances Conditions list, or you can self-certify. So what exactly is self-certification? This is a process whereby you are attesting that the individual has a diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment that causes marked and severe functional limitations. And this is the Social Security Administration's definition of a disability. And a lot of the conditions that would qualify for this are found in the Social Security Blue Book. And there's a Blue Book for adults, and there's a Blue Book for children. And deafness is located in the Blue Book, and it's under the sensory and special senses section. So that's where you would find information on that. And autism as well is something that you would self-certify for. You will also be attesting that the condition has lasted or is expected to last for at least 1 year. And the important thing is you don't send a written diagnosis into us, but you must have one on hand. So we actually have a physician form on our website that's very simple that you take to the doctor. They just put the information in. Once it's signed, you just put it in your file at home, but you don't send that to us. We want you to keep your private health information at home. So it really is a pretty simple process. And when you go through the enrollment process, they'll ask all these questions and it will all fall into place for you. Let's take a look at some people and talk about whether or not they may be eligible to open an account. First, we have Andy. Andy was born with Down syndrome. He's in his mid-30s. He receives SSI. Do you think he is eligible for a Palmetto ABLE account? The answer, of course, is yes, because he was born with Down syndrome. So he is eligible to open an account. Next, we have William. William is in his 30s. He received a medical discharge from the military when he was 26 due to an injury he incurred. Is he eligible for an account? And the answer is yes, because his injury took place prior to the age of 26. He was 25 when it happened. And then we have Tom. And poor Tom had a very terrible car accident when he was 26 years old, and now is a person with paraplegia. Do you think Tom would be eligible? The answer is no, because his injury took place after the age of 26. And last, we have Mary, who's in her 50s. Mary began having symptoms of a mental health disorder when she was a teenager. She was diagnosed in her 30s. Today, she's in her 50s and receives Medicaid and SSI. You think Mary would be eligible? And the answer for this is yes. Even though she's in her 50s, her symptoms were present when she was in her teens. Now, these are examples we just made up to show you the range of people that may be eligible for these accounts. But I can tell you over the course of the past few years in working with disability organizations around the state, I've met people that fit in all of these categories. So it's a lot to consider. We do have an eligibility quiz on our website, which is palmettoable.com. And if you have any questions about this, take the quiz and you'll know in a matter of a minute or two if you may be eligible or a loved one may be eligible for an account. Now let's talk about some of the benefits of owning a Palmetto ABLE account. Well, one is ownership. And what's important about these accounts is that they are owned by the individual living with the disability. So even if you are opening an account for your child who is a minor, the account would be owned by your child, but you would manage it on their behalf. Okay. And for a lot of adults with disabilities, having an ABLE account is the first time they've actually been able to have a financial account of this nature to save for their own future. The other thing is these accounts really help you protect resources because, again, the funds in an ABLE account do not affect eligibility for benefits programs while saving well over $2,000. Now, when you think about it, prior to the passage of the Federal ABLE Act, if an individual with a disability had more and received benefits and had more than $2,000 in resources, they risked loss of those benefits. Now they can save well over that and keep their benefits eligibility. These accounts also allow people to save money for both short-term and long-term disability expenses. And it really helps eliminate spend down. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with that term a lot or not, but a lot of people who do receive benefits all of a sudden see their bank balances creeping up and realize they have to go out and spend money simply to maintain that level under $2,000. And having an ABLE account now, they can save their money for their future. And these accounts are tax advantaged. So the earnings in an ABLE account are tax-free as long as you use the money on qualified expenses. And in South Carolina, when you make a contribution to a Palmetto ABLE account, you can deduct your contribution from your South Carolina state income tax return. Now, our program is done online. Everything is done online. It's at palmettoable.com. You can't walk into a bank and ask to open an account. I think sometimes they would be, or people have been confused when they've tried to do that. But it's a quick and easy process. It takes you about 20 minutes. There's a minimum $25 opening deposit, which belongs to the account beneficiary. That's not our money, that's your money, but that's what it takes to initially fund the account. And it can be done either by the individual living with the disability who is the account holder or an authorized legal representative or an ALR. And that's defined as a person who is a parent, a legal guardian, or a conservator, or someone who has power of attorney for the individual. And also, effective early next year, the definition of an ALR is being expanded to include a spouse, a sibling, grandparents, or representative payee. And this is important because it's going to bring more flexibility to these accounts. So we're glad to see that changing next year. Now, the enrollment process is simple. It's pretty much like setting up your bank account for online banking. You'll go in and create your username and login. You'll be asked to provide information about the beneficiary, including Social Security and other identifying information. If you're opening it as the authorized legal representative, you'll have to provide information about yourself as well, including your social. This is for account and identity verification purposes. Just so you know, there's no tax liability to anyone who is an ALR. It does not have any bearing. This information is used simply to verify. You'll have an opportunity to tell us what your communication preferences are. You'll tell us the nature of the eligibility and if you have power of attorney. They'll ask a number of questions to make sure you are who you say you are. You'll have a chance to select your investment options, take a look at your registration, and then verify your email address. So it's pretty straightforward, and it literally should take about 20 minutes as long as you have the social security number that you need. And if you're going to set it up for automatic or electronic fund transfers, have the routing number for the bank account. I think that's what took me longest when I opened my son's account. Now, this is what our website looks like. It's palmettoable.com. And when you go online, you'll see we have a circle on the top that says open an account and then log in, and then open an account is on the left. If you're opening an account for the first time, that's where you'll go to click to start the enrollment process. And when you click that, you'll go to one of these two landing pages. If you're opening an account, you'll see the page that's on the left, and you'll see, it might be kind of hard to see here, but it says stable account. You're in the right place. We are partners with the Ohio Stable Account Program. So you are in the correct place. And you also might notice Someday LLC. That's because the Bank of New York Mellon manages the back end of our program, all of the investments and the enrollment process. All that information is held very securely. So that's why you see that there, but you are in the right place. And then after you've opened an account, when you log in, you come to the page that's on the right, where you'll simply provide your username and your password, and you'll be able to log into your account. Now, funding your account should be an easy process, and there are several ways you can do it. First off, you can set up your account for electronic fund transfer, and that's when you would go in and attach a regular banking account, either a checking account or a savings account, to the Palmetto ABLE account. And then you can go online and move money from the bank account into the Palmetto ABLE account. If you don't want to do it electronically, you can also send us a paper check made out payable to stable account, and make sure you have the beneficiary's name and account number in the memo line. And we have the PO box on our website. It's in Rhode Island that you would mail your check to. Now, if you're a parent or if you're an ABLE account owner and are employed, you can set up recurring contributions, which is kind of an easy and painless way to put money into your account on a regular basis. And the other thing is, and I think this is important too, is you can do a program rollover, and that's from an existing 529 account, which is a college savings account, or another ABLE program in another state. And I think this is important because I think we all know sometimes life happens. It's possible that a child could be in a terrible accident, and all of a sudden their future for college may be uncertain. So if parents have money already saved in their college savings account, they can put money into their Palmetto ABLE account. The money can still be used for education, but you're going to also have more flexibility and easier access to those funds. So it's just something to keep in mind. Payroll deductions, won't spend a lot of time here. This is easy to set up if you're interested. We actually have a payroll deduction guide on our website in a form. You do the paperwork. Once it's finished, you take it to your HR department and turn it in. And then automatically every month or every, twice a month, whatever you determine, money will be transferred into the Palmetto ABLE account. We also have a gifting page, which is really convenient, that allows anyone to make contributions or financial gifts into a Palmetto ABLE account. And the important part of this is those funds do not count as a resource for income. So if you have someone who is receiving benefits like SSI, you have to watch income. And if you put a contribution directly into their Palmetto ABLE account, it is protected. It won't count against them in terms of income. And that's easy to set up too. When you log in, we have a whole section on setting up a gifting page. And once you do that, you can have a little link that you can email to family and friends, whomever you want, and they can use that link to make contributions. Now, in terms of contributions, they are counted on a calendar year. Currently, it is limited to $15,000 per year, and that's from all sources combined. Now, this is based on the federal gift tax exclusion, and in 2022, this number will be increasing to $16,000 in January of 2022. And when that number goes up, that contribution level will go up for all programs. Additionally, if someone is employed, thanks to the Able to Work Act, they can contribute on top of that $15,000, currently an additional $12,760, which is the federal poverty line. And that number also is increasing next year to $12,880. So you can see you can put a good amount of money in these accounts, and it's considerably more than just being able to have $2,000 before you lose your benefits. With our program currently, the lifetime limit is $501,000. The good news is if anyone reaches this level, their account will still continue to grow and earn interest. However, you can't make contributions again until your balance falls below that maximum cap. And the other thing that's convenient is the system will automatically reject excess contributions. So if you can't remember how much you've put in one year, you try to go a little bit over, it literally won't let you do that. Now, there are some considerations that you need to keep in mind in terms of supplemental security income, and that's the $100,000 rule, which you may have heard of. And what happens here is that if you have an account balances over $100,000, do count as a resource for purposes of your benefits. But SSI is simply suspended. It's not terminated. You don't have to reapply. You don't lose your eligibility. And once the account is spent down below $100,000, benefits will resume. Now, the way this would work, say you had $101,000 in your Palmetto ABLE account and had a separate checking or savings account that had $1,500 in it. That $1,000 above $100,000 plus that $1,500 is $2,500. So that would put you over the resource limit, and it would suspend. And people always say, well, why is it $100,000? And that's just the way the law was written. But it's important to remember, prior to the passage of the federal act, people could only have $2,000 without risking loss of benefits. This is $98,000 more. And because these accounts are intended to help people grow and gain financial independence, it's a good thing if they can save that amount of money. Now, another consideration is if you spend money on housing expenses, you need to take the money out and spend it the same month in which it's withdrawn. Otherwise, it may count as a resource. So if someone's paying their mortgage in December and pulls the money out November 28th and keeps it in their account until December 3rd and pays it, that money then could count as a resource for purposes of benefits. So we tell people if you're going to pay a housing expenditure, pull it out and spend it in that same month. And the other thing we're asked frequently is about income. So even if an account holder is employed and puts their own wages in an account, their income is still their income. These accounts are intended to be asset shields, but they're not income shields. Now, there is a cost associated with owning an account, as there are with pretty much all bank accounts, it seems. We have a monthly maintenance fee that's $3.25 a month. So $9.75 is charged to your account on a quarterly basis, and this comes to $39 a year. And we also have an asset-based management fee of between 0.19% and 0.33%. And I will tell you that one of the reasons that South Carolina chose to go with the Ohio program is that they have some of the lowest rates in the country. And it was really important for Treasurer Loftus and the leadership team to bring the best value possible to our South Carolinians. So again, there is a cost, but it's not as high as you might see in other programs. Now, these are investment accounts, and if you have money in a 401k or any sort of investment account, I'm sure you're familiar with this. We have options ranging from a bank safe option, which is an FDIC insured account. It's federally insured up to $250,000. It won't earn much money, but your money is well protected. And then we have 4 different Vanguard life strategy mutual funds that range from an income option, which is primarily was 80% bonds and 20% stocks, all the way up to the growth option, which is 80% stock and 20% bonds. And people really need to determine what they're comfortable with. We don't give any advice about how people should invest their money. Everyone has to be comfortable with their own determinations. If you don't know how to invest your money, we encourage people to either speak to a financial planner, or if you have a friend that's very financially savvy, ask them for advice, but just do what you're comfortable with, right, for your personal situation. And we have a lot more information about this on our website. Now let's talk about how you're going to spend your money, because you've been saving money in your account. How are you going to spend it? Funds and ABLE accounts are intended to be spent on things that relate to the disability and help maintain or improve the health, the independence, and quality of life of the individual. And this is very broad. People often ask, well, is there a list of what we can spend the money on? And the answer is no. The IRS wrote this to be as broad as possible, because what may be important for my family and situation may not be important for yours. So everybody needs to have the flexibility to spend the money as they need to spend the money. But these are some big buckets you can look at. I mentioned housing and rent. You can pay for mortgage payments, rent payments, utilities, home repairs, homeowners insurance, basic living expenses. Now, this would include things like food and clothing. My son, Matthew, has some visual impairments, and he's not very good at shaving. So every now and then we go to a barbershop downtown, and he gets all done up by a much younger person than me, and he loves doing it. And for him, that's a qualified disability expense, because this is not something he can do for himself. Sometimes he just doesn't want mom to do it. So transportation, you can use it to rent a car, buy a car if you have to have a vehicle modified for accommodations. Education, whether it's college tuition, tutoring, books, computers, whatever, you can use your funds for education. Assistive technology is a huge category, and this would range for everything from Braille readers to hearing aids to service animals. Even the care and feeding of a service animal would be a qualified expense. Of course, you can use money on health and wellness. You can use it on financial management. So if you need some advice, any kind of seeking counsel would be a qualified expense. And you can use it for legal fees as well. So, you know, a lot of times people want to open an account, don't know if they need a special needs trust, but you can open an account, save some money, and then use that money to open a trust when you're ready. So it's very, very flexible. There are some non-qualified expenses, and those would be things that really don't help the account owner. And we tell people, if you don't think it's a good expense, it's probably not. So we tell, don't spend it on alcohol or tobacco or maybe going to a casino. Just use your common sense, use your judgment, and spend your money wisely. The important thing here is that if you spend money on a non-qualified expense, it can count as a resource for purpose of your benefits. And we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. Taking your money out is easy. There are basically two different ways you can do it. It's all done online. You can do an electronic fund transfer and move money from your Palmetto ABLE account into a personal bank account, checking account, savings account, or you can load funds onto the stable Visa prepaid card and use it that way. And you can also request a check that's either cut to yourself as the ALR or the beneficiary or a third party. So we do have some flexibility on that. Withdrawals are free and they are unlimited. This is a stable Visa card. There are some protections built into this. They really are designed for individuals who may be perhaps more financially vulnerable. So the cards are strictly loadable. You can't spend money that you don't have loaded on the account. They don't pull funds directly from your Palmetto ABLE account to the card. And you also, because you can only spend what you've loaded, you don't have any overdraft charges. And there's also no cash access, because we do know a lot of these folks may be financially vulnerable, and you don't want them in a situation where they're emptying their account out when they really should not be. The accounts, the card also helps you track expenses, and you can set it up to have alerts if your balance gets too low. And in my case, I have one for my son, Matthew, and it's made out to Karen Crider for the benefit of my son's name. Now, special needs trusts, this is another area we are frequently asked about. People say, well, I have a special needs trust. Do I need an ABLE account? Or if I have an ABLE account, do I need a special needs trust? And our feeling is that these really are complementary resources that can be used together. For one thing, a special needs trust can accept unlimited cash and non-cash assets. And you know, with an ABLE account, you're restricted to a certain contribution limit per year. The other thing is, if you have a special needs trust set up, you can make distributions from the trust into the Palmetto ABLE account, which is going to give you more flexibility for spending. In terms of ABLE accounts, I think we saw there's broader spending power. You can use the money on housing and food. You know, if you spend money out of a special needs trust for rent, or take money from a trust and spend it on rent or food, that can count as income. It's considered in-kind support. And if someone is receiving SSI, that can actually reduce their monthly benefit. But if you take money from a trust and move it into a Palmetto ABLE account and then spend it on those things, it protects the amount of their benefit. So that's something to consider. We also have state tax deductions, no taxes. And these accounts are really simple to set up. They can be administered and established by the individual with a disability or by a parent or an authorized representative. Another thing we're asked about frequently is Medicaid and what happens upon the death of the beneficiary. In South Carolina and in most states, Medicaid can ask for payback, but there are some protections. For one thing, if an individual receives Medicaid benefits, payback would only be from the date the account was opened and benefits were received. There has to be overlapped. Before there's any kind of payback, you would be able to pay any sort of outstanding bills for qualified disability expenses. You can deduct any sort of Medicaid buy-in premiums that were paid. And you can also pay for funeral and burial expenses. And that's something I did not realize until I was working on this program, that if you have a special needs trust, if you haven't prepaid for a funeral package, once the individual is deceased, you cannot use the money for that because it's no longer going to benefit them. So that's a good thing to know. Won't spend a lot of time on this. We do have steps regarding the death of the beneficiary. A lot of this deals with the Medicaid clawback. And again, our program will work directly with HHS, but it goes through any funds that remain will go to the account holder's estate. And if they don't have a will, it will go through probate in South Carolina. And y'all remember, we're here to help. We do have a customer service team. They're available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at this number, which is 800-439-1653. We have a lot of information on our website, which is palmettoable.com. We do have an email address, but I would really encourage you, if you can, to either call or visit the website, but you can email them at team@stableaccount.com. Just expect that it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get back with you. And the one thing we'd like to ask of you is to help us please spread the message. These accounts are so important. We have really a grassroots marketing effort for this, but we have posts on Facebook on Treasurer Loftus's page and on Instagram. And I always like this quote. This was said by one of our account owners in the upstate, is that a Palmetto ABLE savings account levels the playing field not only for me, but for so many others. It allows us to plan and save for the future without penalizing the benefits programs we need to assist us. And that really, in a nutshell, is what these accounts do. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope I haven't run too long. I was going to say, if y'all have questions, I will be happy to take them.